Mr. Figgy, come back. It might have been a lot of work to track me down, but I'm done with that life. I'm at peace here, in the wilderness. I know you're at peace, but the world needs you. Or at least one classroom in Hawrelak. This is what I do. I look after these trees. Are you sure that you water trees like that? Just spraying them? Wakashi no Kiyo Sodetero. What language is that? That's Japanese. This is a Japanese green blossom. Hier ist Wasser. Is that German? I've even started to listen to country music. Country? Maybe 90s country. Oh, 90s? Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. There's some good stuff there. Wow, that's impressive. There's some water. Vor pastorino. Did you just speak Portuguese to that bird? I told you, Captain, I'm not coming back. But you have to come back. You make the best math videos. The best? You mean that? Maybe I went a little overboard there. Above average? You make decent math videos? They're all right. Sometimes there's some good stuff. Wilson's in trouble. Wilson? It's bad. He would rather play basketball than do math assignments. He's not doing his math. All right. And I'll save Wilson. Again, he's on the basketball court. Hey, friend. Who, me? Just pass Wilson over here. And I'm not giving you Wilson, because you're just gonna take him and teach him some math. I know how this works. Oh, come on, friend. I promise. Here you go. Thank you. It's good to see you, pal. Wilson! This unit is going to be data analysis and probability. This lesson is going to be based less on doing math and more on just constructing the right framework. How to ask questions, good questions, in order to gather data, and how to gather data if you're doing an experiment or something like that. There's two different ways that you can have a survey. You can have a survey to ask people to gather data. You can either have it be fair, or you can have it be biased. And this is the distinction between the two. Here's a fair question. Just say, how much time should students have for phys ed every week? Have 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or daily. If you just say how many times should a student have phys ed, you are not leading the person that answers the question without supplying any peripheral information, and you are just asking them what their preference is. However, if you are doing a biased question, you give a certain amount of information and then you ask people the question, trying to lead the person that's doing the survey into an answer. Where it says studies have shown that students do better when they have physical activity every day. And if they just read that information just before the question, their answers are going to be tilted more towards the information that they just received. You're more probable to answer that you should have phys ed more often. So that's an example of a biased and a fair question. So the most important thing is that your questions do not lead your answers. If your questions change what the answer is going to be, then it's not a fair question. So what we want to do is we want to also be able to gather data in our second lesson this week. It's basically anything. It's like if you knock a cup, we'll say it's a plastic cup, off of a table, which way does it land? And if you knock it over, let's say 20 times, if you just said, well, how many times is it going to land on the top and on the bottom, Well, what's going to happen is it's going to land on its side a lot of times, and that's just not going to be helpful, because you're going to like knock it over 20 times and probably like 15 times it's going to land on its side, and you're going to be wasting your own time because your survey was incomplete when you came up with all the options. You have to provide with enough options to answer the question as accurately as possible. Wilson, come on, let's play. Fine. What's going to happen this week is you're also going to use databases and electronic media in order to find some kind of information. Which letter in the alphabet is used the most often? What's the most common age if you look at the world population? What's the average amount of wins that the championship teams have in this sport? You could look up almost anything. So basically, this entire lesson is just based on gathering data. Whether we're asking questions or we're pulling it out of different curiosities that we have. And once we learn how to gather data, then we can start to put it together in visual form so that other people can take a glance at it and understand it better. And that's basically it. Wilson, are you with me, pal? Let's go back home and do some math.